Today is Monday, June the 22nd, and we can see from FinViz that the market was just in a steady pull up. Started below the close on Friday, so it looked like we were going down, but it didn't take long to reverse, but the volume was pretty weak. The technology stocks and Amazon looked pretty good. The financials looked pretty good. It was healthcare that dragged us down a little bit. Obviously real estate. Utilities were green, and utilities you see usually up in a conservative market, but if you look after hours, we hit 1.382 of the Globex high. So that Fibonacci, which takes the Globex low to the Globex high, that means the overnight high and the overnight and the trading hours high and low. You can see the Globex high was sort of resistance and support for most of the day, and now we've popped up to 138.2 and rightfully pulled back because, I mean, who buys the futures after hours other than traders? There's no fundamentals, in my opinion, in the futures after hours. It's just traders. But let's look at some of our more interesting charts. And where are we? Let's see. Let's pull this one up. Let's go to, here we go. So let's look at our oscillator chart. And you can see that the oscillator basically didn't move from Friday. Here's an expanded view. You can show that it just goes sideways. The stacked volume is pathetic. This is the lowest volume bar maybe a couple of days that we've seen for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. The lowest volume we've seen for 10 weeks. So it's like today didn't exist. But when you look at the number of shares traded for advancers and decliners, they were pretty much even. And our summation index, you can't really tell from there, but if we look at the actual numbers, the summation index is slowly coming down, 145, 164, 147, 72, 4,000. So it's starting to do a little bit of a pullback. Now we look at the charts, and let's look at the S&P. Let's keep looking at the weekly chart and comparing this week to last week. So we finished a little bit higher than last week. We still have this trend line. This is not an established trend line because it's only 2 days. We need a third point really to create a trend line. So let's see if we get that or if we just blow through this. But we have this other trend line, which is obviously clearly established going back to 2002, 2004, 2007, 2018, 2018, 2019. So this is a clear trend line, and that would put resistance somewhere around 3172. Let's look at the Dow Jones, and the Dow Jones is, it's pretty similar. It's got the same kind of trend line look. And the NASDAQ, which has created a new high. This is a new high and a new closing high. Not a new high, I'm sorry, but it is a new closing high. And we're still seeing sellers just nibbling underneath the 138.2%. So keep an eye on that. A break over this 138.2 followed by a test of the 138.2. So let's put that in there so that we remember to talk about these things. But a break over the 138.2 followed by a test. Let's look for those kind of things in the future. Apple, if you were listening to Apple's news thing today, their WWDC today, first of all, the stock was up pretty handsomely right from the open. But at 1 p.m., that's when they started their live broadcast. And unlike previous years where the stock pops and then drops because what Apple's doing is just a facelift of the year before, well, that's not the case today. iOS 14, iPad 14, the Mac OS, their new chips. This was not your regular father's or your grandfather's WWDC, and the market gave us that in spades. Up $12.50, 3.6%. You just can't stop Apple right now, so all the dips are going to be bought. This is just a tremendous stock. Home Depot moved up a little bit higher, but still you have this trend line, which starts back in 2018, had some hits here and here and here. So that trend line looks like it could be resistance after it pulled back from the 138.2%. Caterpillar, I like to see it under 30 all the way through August. I would be very happy with that. I want to see this stock move slowly. It's got a dividend payment coming up. It's already ex-dividend. I'd like to see it go through the next quarter with its dividend payment below 130. That's the way I'm playing the stock. I can't remember where my short calls are, whether they're August or, let me take a look, whether they're August or November. They are November 130 calls, which I sold for $4.20. So my break even would be 134.20, and I think that's just great. That would be up around here. I mean, it doesn't seem all that far away, but for Caterpillar, there's not going to be a trade deal with China. There's going to be no more buying from China, and there's going to be no infrastructure deal that the Democrats are going to let go through. I know that sounds terrible, but we've just spent how many trillions of dollars on trying to save the economy? We still need to provide more free money to people because the virus is coming back. Kudlow will tell you something different, but I'm not going to diverge into that. JP Morgan was down today, which reminds us to look at the banks. So 2.5. Goldman Sachs was up a little bit, but other than that, all the other banks were down by 1.5 to 2%. Facebook barely budged. We're looking at the weekly chart there as well. Whirlpool, nothing exciting there. Nice to see that just slowly taking its time. That's another dividend stock that I would be quite happy if it just moved along and churned along where it is and just kept paying its dividend. And NVDA did a pop. NVIDIA's powerful. There's a good stock. I hope you're in that one. I'm not. I've just got other positions. Let's just look at let's look at one more. Amazon had a pop today. That's a pretty good sign. I'm sure we could probably draw a trend line in there somewhere like this, and maybe even this. I mean, we're already ahead of that one. So anyways, we've got upside going in Amazon for sure. So based on what we saw, so this is the end of the video, the SPX will probably move up to this trend line. That's my guess. But there's still this bearish overhang, which is, as the state of Texas said today, the coronavirus is a bit of a concern.